So imagine this. You are a designer and you've just been handed a brief of your career. You are about to design an identity for the biggest sports event in history. 3 countries are hosting it and 48 more countries are going to be participating in it. How are you going to represent all of these cultures, colors, flags, history, passion for the sports in a unified identity that will be appealing to every single participant of that event? It's kind of difficult, right? But I'm here to tell you, I think FIFA might have just pulled this off. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Zodero and I'm a brand and identity designer operating worldwide. And in this channel, we talk everything branding. If you're down for content like that, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like, share the videos, and all that good stuff. But other than that, let's proceed with the video. Today, I want us to take a look at the FIFA 2026 World Cup branding. But before we actually get into it, I want you to truly understand what FIFA was actually asking from their design team. So for the first time in the tournament history, this World Cup is actually going to be hosted by 3 different countries. That's Mexico, Canada, and the USA. And for the first time ever in this tournament history, 48 teams are going to be participating in this event. And 16 different cities are going to host this event. Now, the question that FIFA had to answer is, how do you actually create a visual system that cuts across all of these informations? Just one logo that feels at home, whether it's in Mexico, Vancouver, or in the USA. One color system that can work across the mobile screen, big billboards, or even in the player's kit. A design language that actually speaks to a fan who is watching at home in Tanzania or who is at the actual stadium in Dallas. That was the brief. That's the genius level problem FIFA had to deal with. Did they actually solve it? Well, I'm going to show you they didn't just solve it. I'm going to show how they created something that will likely influence sports branding for years to come. So I want us to take a look at this 2026 branding bit by bit. Let's start with the logo and the official wordmark. So this is the official 2026 FIFA World Cup logo. And just by looking at it, you can tell something is different. It's a very different approach than what FIFA has done in prior World Cups. To make it easier for you to understand, let's break it down. Let's start with the primary mark. And the first thing that I want you to notice is what's not here. The words World Cup are gone. For the first time since 1990, FIFA dropped those 2 words from the logo entirely. That's a huge design decision, and it tells us something important about how confident they are in the visual language they've built. What you have here instead is 3 things: the trophy, the number 26, and the FIFA wordmark. In previous World Cups, the trophy has always been implied, maybe stylized, illustrated, or abstracted. But here, for the first time ever, it's a photorealistic rendering of the actual trophy. Now, you may ask, why does that matter? I think because it removes the ambiguity. There's no question that this right here is the real thing. All these 48 teams are fighting tooth and nail to have. So you see it and you instantly know that this is the biggest prize in football. It's direct, it's iconic, it's actually earned. Now, let's talk about the colors. And I think this is where the branding gets really interesting. FIFA made 2 distinct color systems for this identity. The primary version, which I think you will see the most. It uses black, white, gold, green trophy at the center. It's restrained, prestigious, but still maintains that classic feel. But alongside that primary system, FIFA also created a multicolor system. And that multicolor version is where I think the real genius lives. By having that flexible color system, FIFA could essentially hand over the initial framework to each of the 16 host cities and tell them, okay, this is the initial structure that we built. These are the colors that we allow. Now, go and make it yours. So, Mexico City, Toronto, New York, and all of the remaining 16 host cities get their own identities. That's what I call system thinking. That's not just delivering a logo and then you're done. That's architecture in branding. From a design standpoint, this branding solves a very huge problem. how do you celebrate diversity of all these 48 nations without actually using unity? So it turns out you need to create a system that has the same structural foundation but allows variable expression. So however these 16 cities express themselves, they still maintain that brand coherence. And the typography that they created reinforces this. The official typeface that they're using is bold and more defined in terms of its structure. This is not by mistake, it's intentional. It's to create a typeface that can be seen well on small mobile screens, even if someone is just waking up at 6 a.m. to check on the updates, or they're just scrolling in digital and social artworks. Also, the typeface that can be seen well in big areas like outside stadiums or in merchandise or wherever the typeface that is being used, it needs to be seen that it belongs on the same universe. Okay, so this is another section that I was waiting us to get into because anyone can talk about the logo, but what truly separates a great brand identity from just a great logo is how it is applied in the real world. And that's why mockups are really important. And you better believe the 2026 World Cup campaign has been applied into everything. I mean, it's the World Cup, right? This identity needs to work at scale. We're talking about 60,000 city venues with signage, LED boards, pitch side branding, tunnel branding. And because this identity has that bold, structural, and high contrast graphic language, it cuts across all those sizes. That's not accidental. It's intentional from the start. Every game that you will watch, this identity has to wrap the entire experience. We're talking about the lower third, the score overlay, the transition animations, the way the trophy mark scales in motion, the way it rotates, if it's 3D or it's 2D, all that needs to be perfect because this is the World Cup we're talking about. And FIFA definitely made sure that when they're creating this identity from scratch, they had motion in mind, digital and social. So to push this World Cup, FIFA created a campaign titled We Are 26 campaign. The campaign uses the same typography as the typography that's being used in the logo. So whenever you see a social media post or an artwork from FIFA, you kind of know that, okay, this belongs in the same World Cup universe. And everything feels coherent, not just assembled like different pieces, but something which is intentional, mechanized. Think about what it means to put this identity on a t-shirt, a cap, a scarf, a badge, a pin. Each of those surfaces has different materials, different production methods, different scale constraints. The identity works on all of them. And crucially, it works in single color too, which is essential for embroidery, embossing, or print production at scale. And lastly, my personal favorite, host city logos. As we've established in the past, FIFA created a multicolor system version which made sure that each of those 16 host cities have their own expression, but that expression is built along the same structural identity. So each of these 16 host cities get to have their own logo, but it's derived from the same structural template. You end up with the Dallas logo that feels different from the Vancouver logo, which is different from the Mexico City logo, but they are all unmistakably belong to the same 2026 World Cup. All right, with all that information that I've just laid upon you, what lessons can we take from this branding? I think there are 3 key lessons that we can take. Number 1 is design for systems, not just moments. FIFA didn't create this branding following trends or whatever was popular at the moment. They created a system that would actually solve a problem. That's why it needed to be versatile and cover all of the things that we talked about without leaving any single thing unconsidered. Number 2, the best identities solve problems nobody else saw. I remember when this identity first dropped, it was a few months after the 2022 World Cup, which happened in Qatar, which that branding also was goated, and I think it deserves a separate video. But this particular branding got a lot of backlash, and everybody was hating on it. Everybody was saying how simple it is, and this and that. I personally know some designers who were crowning on this, but they actually didn't see what FIFA was dealing with and what they planned with, because prior they just wrote the logo and this whole system was not available at the time. So because FIFA saw that problem and they actually wanted to solve it, then nobody else saw what was actually going behind the scenes. That's why they were clowning. But I think with this, they mastered to definitely solve that problem in with flying colors, I would say. And number 3 is typography is your brand's voice. You don't have to limit yourself with clean and minimal typography. You need a typeface that's expressive, that's actually communicating what you actually do and what your brand stands for. So whenever you're trying to create a brand from scratch or just trying to revamp it, you need to keep that in mind. The typography is among your strongest soldiers whenever you're trying to communicate any message out there. So that was it for today. The 2026 World Cup identity is definitely a masterclass, and I hope I've proven it to you by today. It's not the most beautiful World Cup logo ever made, but it solves an enormous problem. How do you communicate diversity without losing unity? Now, I have other couple of videos regarding the World Cup that are coming soon, so make sure to be on the lookout, subscribe, do all that good stuff. But until then, catch you guys in the next one. Peace.